I came to in the middle of a novel cast as the villain's sidekick, and the first thing I saw was a divorce agreement slid across a marble countertop. "Aki's back," she said, her voice as cool and sterile as the room. "Sign this and go. I don't want him to see you here." I glanced at the wire transfer confirmation attached to the papers, 7 figures. The message was, "My wife's one true love, the one who got away, had returned." It was time for the stand-in to exit stage left. I signed my name without a moment's hesitation. This charade was over. Whoever wanted to be the placeholder could have the job. The divorce papers were signed, but the mandatory cooling-off period was a month. I lay sprawled on the king-sized bed in the sprawling penthouse, a knot of conflicting emotions in my gut. It hadn't taken long to adjust to life inside this story. In the original novel, the character I now inhabited, this second-rate antagonist, was obsessively in love with the female lead, my soon-to-be ex-wife. He made her life a living hell, culminating in a desperate kidnapping plot that ended with him blown to smithereens. Clutching the phone displaying my new bank balance, I let out a long, slow breath. Plenty of fish in the sea. With this kind of money and a place to live, finding a new partner wouldn't be a problem. Why on earth would I want to go head-to-head with the story's hero? That was a suicide mission. My name is Kenji Sato, and I'm a rational man. I had no intention of following that script. I'd signed the papers. Now all I had to do was lay low and let the clock run out. Just as I was about to drift off, my phone buzzed. The caller ID read May. "May Chun. Don't tell me she's having second thoughts. The money just hit my account." I answered. Her voice came through crisp and cold. "Kenji, get your things out of here. It will upset Aki to see them." "Then just throw them out," I wanted to say, but I thought better of it. Why waste good stuff? May might be an ice queen, but she had expensive taste. The things she bought me were worth a small fortune. I cleared my throat. "Fine. I'm on my way." Afraid she'd change her mind, I hung up and was out the door in minutes. When I arrived at the penthouse, I was surprised to find May still there. She was wearing a perfectly tailored black couture suit, her shoes off revealing toes painted with a delicate shell pink polish. Her legs were long and flawless as she leaned casually against the arm of a sprawling designer sofa. Her makeup was immaculate, her expression a mix of deep contemplation and detached boredom. May Chun was the very picture of lethal aristocratic beauty. According to the novel, my character Kenji's grandfather had once saved May's father's life, which was the only reason they were married in the first place. Otherwise, how could a small-time family like the Satos ever hope to marry into the Qin dynasty? I shook my head, clearing the thought. Tomahawk, I went upstairs to the master bedroom. The space felt sterile and cold. The walk-in closet was filled with seasonal designer clothes, many with the tags still on. Jackpot. I separated the new clothes into one pile. They'd sell for a decent price on the RealReal. The rest I could wear myself, saving a fortune on a new wardrobe. In a drawer I found a dozen high-end watches, diamond cufflinks, and other accessories that even to my untrained eye looked obscenely expensive. I packed everything into 8 large suitcases. As I was about to leave, a strange tightness gripped my chest. An impulse I couldn't explain made me sit on the edge of the bed. Then, as if my hands had a will of their own, I bent down and pulled a cardboard box from under the bed frame. Inside were a diary and a photo album. What was this? January. May? I finally met her today. Dad said she's my fiancée. I never imagined she'd be so beautiful. I think I'm falling for her. January. The Chins all looked down on me. May told me today that ours would be a marriage of convenience only. It hurt, but I agreed. Just being able to see her is enough. March. We got married. May picked the date. She said it coincided with her company's th anniversary, so we could celebrate both at once. I didn't object. March. May gave me an agreement to sign today. It stipulated that I have to leave the day he comes back. I didn't want to sign, but when I looked in her eyes, I couldn't refuse. The diary was a painful, detailed record of the original Kenji's life with May. Reading it left a sour taste in my mouth. This wasn't a villain. This was a doormat, a classic simp. May had treated him like dirt for 3 years, and he'd still worshipped the ground she walked on. Now the main character was back, and he was expected to just vanish. No wonder he died. He probably had a rage-induced heart attack, and I just happened to slip into his place. I shook my head, put the diary back in a box, and picked up the photo album. I opened it and froze. Every single page was filled with pictures of May, sitting, standing, scolding an employee, even sleeping. They were all of her. This Kenji, he was genuinely in love. I thought he was some kind of possessive creep, but this was different. This was love down to the bone. Tucked into the side of the album were handwritten notes detailing all of May's preferences, from her coffee order to her favorite brand of silk pajamas. Then again, who wouldn't fall for a woman like May? She was stunning, powerful, and rich. But a man has to know his limits. Time to cash out. I packed the last of it, called an Uber XL with a couple of guys to help, and headed downstairs. Just as I reached the lobby, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan pulled up to the curb. A man stepped out. He was tall, around feet, with a pale, clean-shaven face and glasses perched on a straight nose. He looked thin, almost frail, with a melancholic air about him. His features were vaguely similar to mine, but I looked like a sun-drenched Californian next to his brooding East Coast paler. "You must be Kenji," he said, his voice smooth. "Thank you for taking care of May these past few years." I got it. This had to be the hero of our story, Aki Vance. I offered a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "No problem. We took care of each other. That's what marriage is for, right?" His face visibly darkened. I smirked internally. I hadn't even signed the final divorce papers, and this guy was already moving in. Before I could say another word, a gasp came from behind me. "Aki, you're here." May blew past me like a gale-force wind and launched herself straight into Aki's arms. Right in front of me, she embraced him, then turned to glare at me over his shoulder. "Why are you still here?" Her eyes were cold and sharp. I let out a short, sharp laugh. "Eager are we, May? You might not care about your own reputation, but you should at least think of the company. If page 6 gets a picture of this, Mr. Vance here is going to look like the other man." I leaned in, my voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "After all, we're not officially divorced yet." May's face turned an ugly shade of red. Beside her, Aki frowned, his eyes narrowing with a flash of menace. I wasn't scared. I met their hostile glares heat-in. "Kenji, you gave your word," May hissed. "I did," I agreed. "But I also have some self-respect. If you want this divorce, you'll wait out the cooling-off period like a civilized person." I wasn't the doormat they thought I was. Seeing them wrapped in each other's arms right in front of me would test the patience of a saint. Before May could retort, Aki took her hand. "You're misunderstanding," he said, his tone deceptively calm. "May and I haven't seen each other in 3 years. I'm just taking her to catch up with some old friends. If you'd like, you could join us." The friends of a hero and heroine? Alistair's and trust fund kids? No, thank you. I had no desire to fit into a circle I didn't belong to. "I'll pass. I've got things to do," I said. Then I pointed a finger at Aki. "But a word of advice. The optics here aren't great. Your world gets messy. Be careful." I fixed my gaze on May. She got the message, taking a subtle step back to put some distance between herself and Aki. Aki's face went black. He stared at me, his eyes like chips of ice. I just grunted, loaded the last box into the van, and drove off toward my new condo. It was another property May had put in my name. Between that and the money from selling the clothes and accessories, I was set. After selling the new designer stuff to a high-end consignment shop, I was another dollar richer. The watches and cufflinks added even more. Divorced and flush with cash, I could retire. But I still had a job to do. Technically, the original Kenji worked at Chin Enterprises. Now that we were divorcing, should I quit or stick around? I decided to let her fire me. That way, I could collect a nice severance package. I was a novel now. Hard work was for suckers. My new mission was to accumulate as much cash as possible. But the hero's plot armor was stronger than I'd anticipated. By the next morning, my name was trending everywhere. May's call came at the crack of dawn. She was screaming, "Kenji, did you do this on purpose?" I was half asleep, completely baffled. "What are you talking about? You set this up yesterday, didn't you? If I find out you hired someone to do this, you'll regret it." Before I could even form a response, she hung up. Utterly confused, I checked my phone. A push notification from a gossip site explained everything. Someone had snapped photos of me moving my things out of the penthouse, and in the background, clear as day, were May and Aki locked in their tender embrace. Some paparazzi had hit the jackpot. Chinaki shocker. Is May Chun divorcing husband for high school sweetheart? May was the chosen heir to the Chin Empire. Our marriage had been a quiet affair, mostly a formality, unknown to the public but common knowledge within their elite circle. For the paparazzi to get this story, someone with an axe to grind must have tipped them off. Now Aki was being painted as a homewrecker, and I was caught in the crossfire. I tried calling May back, but her line was busy. I sent her a text instead. The last thing I needed was more drama. She didn't reply, but soon the narrative online began to shift. Sources: Aki and May were the power couple at Columbia. The husband was the one who forced his way in. My cousin is a housekeeper for the Chens. She said Kenji's family guilt May into marrying him. That's why there was no real wedding. Aki was forced to leave the country 3 years ago after a terrible car accident that made him miss the ceremony. Yeah, I knew Aki wouldn't be a homewrecker. Turns out he was the victim all along. Kenji is disgusting. So May is finally free from that leech. Good for her. A true love story. And just like that, Aki was transformed into a tragic romantic hero, while I became the manipulative, social climbing villain. Any comment defending me was immediately buried under an avalanche of hate until the user deleted their account. I was furious. The audacity of these people. A car accident? If he was so in love, why couldn't he pick up a phone in years? Now he was playing the devoted lover. May never replied to my text. I clenched my fists. If this wasn't resolved, I wouldn't sign the final divorce papers. Before I could confront her, my own family showed up. I was about to eat lunch when someone started pounding on my door like they were trying to break it down. Who the hell was this? I opened it to find a middle-aged couple glaring at me, their faces twisted with rage. A jolt went through me, a flicker of the original Kenji's memories. Kenji, you've really done it this time, my father spat. You dare move out? Where's Ms. Chun? What are you standing there for? My mother chimed in. We've been looking all over for you, and here you are, about to have a nice lunch. So these were Kenji's parents. In the novel, they were parasites who only used him. If they had shown him an ounce of real affection, maybe he wouldn't have become so twisted and met such a grim end. But I wasn't the old Kenji. I wouldn't let them get away with it. I sat back down at the table and started eating. My mother slammed her hand on the table. You still have a nerve to eat. What should I be doing? I said calmly. If you have something to say, say it. If you're just here to yell at me, don't bother. I'm not listening. She exploded. I'm telling you, Kenji, this is your mess. You need to go and apologize or I swear I'll. He's right, Kenji. My father cut in, his tone wheedling. The Chins cut off our supply chain. You know your brother's little startup is completely dependent on their contracts. This scandal is humiliating us. They tag-teamed me. Their voices a chorus of disappointment and greed. I felt nothing but disgust. So their lives were falling apart, and I was the only one who could save them. I didn't start this, I said flatly. May is the one who wants a divorce. Stop listening to rumors. She's not coming back. You should eat and go. I'm probably gonna lose this condo soon anyway. At that, they both froze, their faces going pale before flushing with anger. Kenji, you have a marital agreement, my father shouted. If the Chins want a divorce, we'll leak it to the press. See how she likes that. A marital agreement? I raised an eyebrow. I'd forgotten about that little detail. You've seen the comments online, haven't you? I said, my voice dripping with scorn. They've already spun Aki from a home wrecker into Romeo. What good do you think some piece of paper will do? Trust me, the moment you release that, we won't just be nobodies. We'll be erased, vanished overnight. I leaned forward. My advice, keep your heads down and stay out of it. This wasn't an exaggeration. The Chin family's power in this city was absolute. My parents paled, the fear finally sinking in. They quietly sat down and ate their meal in silence. After they finished, I saw them out. Looking back at the sleek, modern condo, an idea began to form. I couldn't keep this place, either. It would just be another liability. I called a real estate agent and listed the condo. Staring at the cold, empty rooms, I thought of May. She still hadn't responded. Instead, my phone was blowing up with a constant stream of hateful texts and spam calls from unknown numbers. I tried to ignore it, but shortly after my parents left, as I was sorting through some papers, I heard a commotion outside my door. I looked for the peephole to see some crazed fan trying to splash red paint on my door. Security tackled him and dragged him away to call the police. Standing in the doorway, I watched them haul him off. The woman screamed over her shoulder, "You'll get what's coming to you, Kenji. You'll burn in hell." That was the last straw. I called May. It rang a dozen times before she finally picked up, her voice a frozen sliver of sound. Have you caused enough trouble? Aki is back, representing his family's interests, she continued, her voice all business. He has a major partnership with Chin Enterprises. If this deal isn't stable, I cut her off, my patience gone. May, I don't give a damn about your business plans. But let me remind you, during this cooling off period, if I don't show up to sign the final papers, this divorce doesn't happen. If you let them keep slandering me, I swear I'll burn everything to the ground, and I won't care who gets caught in the fire. I let the threat hang in the air. You have one day to fix this. Retract every lie. Clear my name. If you don't, I'll be more than happy to do it for you. I hung up. I had a temper, too. They wanted to drag my name through the mud? Fine. They might have forgotten who the real third wheel was in this relationship, but I was about to give them a very public reminder. Maybe my threat worked. Soon after, May finally made a move. She posted a single sentence on her official Twitter account. I hope everyone can refrain from online harassment. It was a masterclass in passive aggression. Her followers praised her for being so kind and compassionate, which only reignited the firestorm against me. Mei-chin, you are something else. I called my parents and offered them $1 for the marital agreement. The money pained me, but it was a necessary expense. I'd add it to May's tab. The document arrived, signed in the hand of May's late grandfather, complete with his personal seal. Sorry, old man. I thought, I have to drag you out of your grave to fight this battle, but they pushed me too far. The time wasn't right yet. I had to let the bullet fly a little longer. Perhaps feeling he'd already won, Aki Vance himself showed up at my condo, a real estate agent in tow. He'd changed since I last saw him. The melancholy was gone, replaced by an air of arrogant authority. His eyes were sharp, predatory. I'm buying this condo, he announced, his tone leaving no room for argument. I chuckled. You've certainly got the money. I'll pay % above your asking price, he said coolly. I don't want anything of May's left in your hands. After you sell, I want you to leave this city. If he hadn't said that, I might have considered it. But now, not a chance. Not for sale, I said, smiling thinly. Not to you. Aki's brow furrowed slightly, a flicker of annoyance crossing his perfect features. He made a subtle gesture with his hand, a signal I recognized from the novel. It meant he was about to get what he wanted, no matter the cost. I wagged a finger at him. Forget it, Aki. Not happening. If you want to buy this place, I continued, have May come ask me herself. Otherwise, you can get the hell out. Aki's eyes turned glacial, and a palpable chill filled the room. The poor real estate agent looked like he was about to have a heart attack. Kenji, do you really think I won't touch you? Aki, I said, my voice dropping low. Were you really in a car accident 3 years ago? Is that why you couldn't make it to the wedding? His face went rigid with shock. I held up my phone and gave a little shake. Your travel records, your credit card statements. Others might not know, but I have a very clear picture of your accident. If you don't want me to start a little wildfire online, I suggest you get out of my sight now. He clenched his jaw, his eyes burning with impotent rage, but he turned and left. The fool. He really thought I was a pushover. I had no problem divorcing May, but trying to strong-arm me out of my assets. That was a declaration of war. The Chin family was worth billions, and they thought they could buy my silence with a few million and a condo. I'd originally agreed because it was easy money, but now that they were trying to take back the condo, the deal was off. Besides, the original Kenji's diary had made it clear this was the place where he and May first met. He had planted every single rose in the small terrace garden with his own hands. The condo meant everything to him. I was in his body now, and I could feel a phantom tremor of loss at the thought of giving it up. Aki wanted the condo for that very reason. He knew what the place, especially the rose garden, symbolized. He couldn't stand the thought of another man's devotion to May, and he wanted to erase it. In fact, Aki was even more ruthless than I'd imagined. When he couldn't buy the place, he decided to burn it down. I didn't realize what was happening until thick black smoke began to pour into the room. Luckily, the building's fire alarm went off, and security acted fast. They pulled me out just as I passed out from smoke inhalation. I woke up in a hospital room. May was sitting by my bed. When she saw my eyes open, she stood up. You're okay. I'll be going then. I shot out a hand and grabbed her wrist. May, he did this. We both knew who he was. She wrenched her arm away. Kenji, I can't believe you'd set your own home on fire just to frame Aki. Frame him? I almost laughed. Think whatever you want. Just don't come to regret it. Her face was a mask of fury as she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. This was the brilliant heroine of a story. How could someone so smart be so blind? Did she really need me to shove the evidence in her face and grind her nose in it? A day later, May's team finally started to act, pulling down the most vicious trending topics. But I knew it was just superficial. The Chun board of directors was already growing displeased with her. Marrying me was a move to stabilize the family's image. Divorcing me so scandalously was the opposite. I made a call to May's cousin, Hao Chun. He swirled a glass of red wine, a smirk playing on his lips as he looked at me across the table at a private club. Kenji, I have to admit, I underestimated you. The Chins had always looked down on me, but even an ant can turn the tables. I pushed a manila envelope across the table. If you want to win, this is your ammunition. Hao opened it. He took one look at the contents, and his eyes lit up. Is this reliable? Of course, I said. For the last 3 years, I wasn't just warming May's bed. I've been doing my research. Knowing she had someone else in her heart, the original Kenji had become consumed with jealousy. He'd used every resource he had to dig into Aki's life. Then he died, leaving me the fruits of his labor. I hadn't planned on using this nuclear option, but Aki had left me no choice. My family's company was already on the verge of bankruptcy thanks to the Chans. I was next. Hao raised an eyebrow. This is good leverage, but can you really take down May? She still has Aki. Don't worry, I said with a confident smile. He won't be a problem for much longer. Leave him to me. Hao's smirk widened into a genuine grin. We raised our glasses and drank. My original plan was to take the money and disappear, but May's blind devotion to Aki, a man who nearly got me killed, changed everything. This was no longer a retreat. This was a counterattack. After leaving the club, I organized everything that had happened. Then I went on Twitter. I posted 2 simple photos, a photo from our wedding day and a clean shot of the marital agreement, signed by her grandfather. The internet exploded again. My mentions were a war zone. WTF? So you didn't force her to marry you? Wait, they're not divorced yet. Does that mean Aki really is the other man? My boy Aki would never. This is obviously fake to make him look bad. This drama is better than Netflix. Grab my popcorn. I don't care what the backstory is. The fact is they're still married. May Chun is cheating on her husband. For the past few weeks, May and Aki had been inseparable, photographed at public events and private parties, always acting intimately. Aki, in particular, carried himself with a smug, possessive air, as if to say, "This is my woman." His delusional fan base had even created romantic video montages of them. Now those same videos were damning evidence, nailing them both to the wall of public shame. Our marriage was an arranged one, a pact between families. The marital agreement was ironclad proof. When some users questioned why we never had a proper wedding, an anonymous account suddenly posted photos from the event. It may have been combined with a corporate anniversary party, but all the essential parts of a wedding were there. I had no idea who this helpful stranger was, but their timing was perfect. The online furor reached a fever pitch. May's phone started blowing up my call log. I ignored her, so she came to me. Since my condo was a charred mess, I was staying in a hotel suite. She used her master key to burst in while I was soaking in the bathtub. She stormed in, saw me, and immediately spun around, her body trembling with rage. "Kenji, stop this nonsense right now. Delete everything from your Twitter." I clicked my tongue. "You slander me online, Aki's goons burned down my home, and now you want to silence me? May, you have no sincerity. If you're going to beg, you need to have the right attitude." She took a deep, shuddering breath. "I'll give you $1,000,000. Clear this up. Tell everyone you forced the marriage, that Aki is innocent." She was really willing to say anything to protect him. "May, don't you get it?" I said, standing up in the tub and wrapping a towel around my waist. I walked up behind her, my voice a low whisper in her ear. "You're not in a position to make demands anymore. If I don't agree, no one walks away from this clean. You let your own family go bankrupt," she hissed. I wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her flush against me. "My family," I chuckled darkly, "is not my problem." She flinched, shocked that I could be so callous. I tightened my grip, enjoying her discomfort. "May, it's not too late to regret your choices. How about you dump Aki, and we give this another try?" I was testing her, giving her one final chance. She shoved me away violently, her eyes blazing with hatred. In your dreams. Aki will destroy you. All right then, I said with a shrug. I can't wait to see what other trick your precious Aki has up his sleeve. You should go. We're about to be divorced. You wouldn't want Aki to get the wrong idea, thinking you were spying on me in the shower. She spun on her heel and stormed out, slamming the door. I smiled, pulled out my phone, and sent a single text message. It's time to close the net. May had no defense. Every time Aki tried to make a public statement, he was drowned out by a tidal wave of angry comments. He attempted a live stream to clear the air, but it was quickly swarmed by users who were there to teach him a lesson in humility. Someone even asked him point blank if he was a homewrecker. The marriage certificate was undeniable. Having failed to spin the narrative, Aki went silent. His silence was taken as an admission of guilt. I chose that moment to release the videos of Aki's time abroad. He hadn't been pining for May. He'd been living it up, surrounded by women. I even packaged the highlights into a neat little file and sent it directly to May. I hoped they'd have a calm, rational discussion about it. Lena was in high spirits when we met for drinks. You know, he said, for all her toughest nails CEO act, May is a notorious germaphobe with a strict moral code. I bet the number of times she even slept with you could be counted on one hand. But with Aki, it was a whole different story, a real bonfire of the vanities. I can't imagine how she's reacting to the news that her soulmate is actually a total player. Rena smiled. In the novel, Aki was the alpha male hero. Women threw themselves at him. It was naive to think he'd stay celibate for May. To him, any woman he wasn't married to was just a casual fling. How tapped the table. So, when's the divorce final? 7 days left on the clock, I replied. How understood. He immediately dropped another bombshell. Photos and videos from the hospital in Europe where Aki had been treated on their wedding day. May had called Aki that day, begging him to come, promising to run away with him. But Aki had been partying so hard with another woman that he'd ended up in the emergency room. He'd used the car accident as a convenient excuse. Now, his devoted lover persona was shattered. Paparazzi caught May and Aki in a screaming match. In one particularly damning photo, Aki's hand was wrapped around May's throat, her face a canvas of shock and betrayal. Looking at the picture, I didn't feel a shred of pity. I just opened a bottle of wine. The tables have turned, May. This is your knight in shining armor. What she saw as a passionate, epic romance was nothing more than lust. Aki wasn't a gentle soul. In his world, women were accessories. Even though May was groomed to be a CEO, at her core she was still playing the part of a damsel. She couldn't handle his betrayal, and he couldn't handle her independent, authoritarian streak. When they clashed, neither would back down. A relationship like that was doomed. When I saw May next, she was standing in my hotel room door, drenched to the bone. The moment I opened it, she threw herself at me. I took a sharp step back, and she stumbled into the empty space, her face a mask of hurt. Kenji, she whispered, her voice cracking, he lied to me. Are you going to abandon me too? She looked like she'd aged a decade in a few days. The icy, beautiful powerhouse was gone, replaced by a mess of ruined makeup and wet clothes. It was pouring outside. She must have run through the rain. I couldn't care less, May. I'm not a recycling bin for broken hearts, I said coldly. Is now the time you finally feel regret? My words made her flinch. Kenji, we're still husband and wife. Why are you being like this? Husband and wife? That's hilarious. You only come back to me after you've seen Aki's true colors. That's not regret. That's just disgusting. She stared at me in disbelief. The old Kenji would have forgiven her for anything. He would have been heartbroken to see her so miserable. But I wasn't the old Kenji, and frankly, I thought she deserved it. May clearly couldn't accept this new version of me. She grabbed my arm desperately. Kenji, I was wrong. I made a mistake. Can you forgive me? My face was a stone mask. Just because you're sorry doesn't mean I have to forgive you, May. No one waits around forever. You don't want me anymore? Her voice was thin. You promised you would always love me no matter what. I held up a finger and wagged it slowly. If you'd said this to me a month ago, I would have told you yes. I want you. I still love you. But now I find you tainted. May staggered back, her lips parting in a silent gasp. I didn't. We didn't. You're trying to tell me you didn't sleep with him? An emotional affair is still an affair. I don't care how you try to justify it. I tapped my chest. There's no room for you in here anymore. Impossible. She lunged at me again, her nails digging into my arms. The pain made me wince. Why are you doing this? It can't be, she sobbed, shaking her head. Kenji, you still love me, right? I can change. Don't be a fool. Just go. I pushed her away and handed her the box containing the old diary and photo album. Let's just have a clean break. Be at the courthouse in 2 days. If you don't show, I'll leak something even worse. She took the box, and a single glance at its contents made tears stream down her face. I closed the door on her without a flicker of emotion. The woman was beautiful, but she was a toxic, clueless mess. I wanted no part of it. 2 days later, May was waiting at the courthouse, looking even more haggard. She made one last desperate attempt. Kenji, can we please not do this? I'm sorry now. My immediate refusal made her face fall. I just smiled, patted her shoulder, and walked inside. 10 minutes later, I walked out with a signed divorce decree, feeling a profound sense of relief. I gave her a little wave and turned to leave. We can start over, she called after me. No one waits forever, May. As I said the words, I felt a tremor deep inside me, a final exhalation of soul finally at peace. It seemed the real Kenji had seen the light. He had finally let her go. May still wanted to cling to the past, but I had no intention of letting myself get dragged back into her chaos. I immediately posted a picture of the divorce decree online, launching us back into the trending topics. The comments flooded in. Holy crap, he actually did it. The sequel we were waiting for. Congrats, man. You're finally free from that toxic woman. Dude, I apologize for all the crap I said about you before. So how much did you get in the settlement? Spill the tea. The internet was a fickle beast. Amid the congratulations were trolls accusing me of orchestrating the whole thing for a massive payout. I just smiled and posted one more thing. The official fire marshal's report, which concluded my condo was a target of arson. The investigation was ongoing, and the perpetrator had been arrested. I didn't need to say more. I just posted a picture of my charred, blackened condo with a caption, homeless but free. The public connected the S. The spotlight swung back to Aki. This guy is pure evil. If you can't have it, burn it down. Throw the book at him. Lock him up. I still don't get what May saw in him. I used to think Aki was hot. Now he just looks greasy. Let the trash take out the trash. They deserve each other. Aki's reputation was in ruins. How? True to his word, made his final move. With May's public image destroyed by the divorce scandal, her projects at the company began to fail. Hao led a boardroom coup, citing the damage to the company's brand, and with the support of other directors, acquired her shares and had her removed from her position. Mei Chen had fallen from grace. I heard from an old staff member at the Chun estate that she was being forced to sell off her properties to cover the massive losses she was now personally liable for. I felt a wave of relief. If we hadn't divorced, half of that debt would have been mine. Aki didn't fare any better. His plan to use the Chun partnership to elevate his own family's company backfired spectacularly. One of his real estate developments was exposed for using substandard materials after a scaffolding collapse injured a worker. It could have been a manageable crisis, pay a settlement, fix the issue, but Aki, arrogant as ever, sent his security team to rough up the protesting workers. A journalist caught the whole thing on camera. With the city in the middle of a major revitalization campaign, the officials saw the footage and demanded a severe response. The Aki brand image plummeted. Aki was arrested. I heard that as they cuffed him, he was still pulling rank, demanding his lawyer and yelling about prosecuting the mastermind behind the scenes. I spent a little money to make sure that clip went viral. Legal experts on TikTok had a field day breaking down the myriad of laws he'd broken. I shook my head. In the original novel, as the hero, his illegal actions were always glossed over. But with my influence, the world of the story had started to operate on real-world logic. Aki paid a fortune in legal fees and settlements just to get out on bail. He had to tear down the faulty building and rebuild it from scratch at his own expense. The building's future tenants formed a watchdog group and monitored the construction site daily, ready to call the authorities at the slightest infraction. Aki was living in his own custom-built hell. Seeing all this, I smiled as a notification lit up my phone, a wire transfer from Hao. Million, my share of the winnings. With the money, I bought a sprawling penthouse with a panoramic view of the city and started my own consulting business. Life was simple and fulfilling. The next time I heard about them was 6 months later. The Aki Group had declared bankruptcy. For a moment, seeing the story's heroes so thoroughly defeated, a flicker of fear went through me. Had my interference caused the novel's entire world to collapse? Would I be erased next? But the months passed without incident, and I finally relaxed. After his bankruptcy, Aki disappeared off the map. I didn't care. One evening, Hao invited me out to dinner. As we were being seated, I saw her, May. She looked pale and angry. When she spotted me, she froze. Then her expression curdled with fury. You too, she snarled. You worked together to trick me. Hao just shrugged. You were dealt a winning hand and played it like a fool. That's on you. I smiled. May seemed incapable of accepting this reality. She rushed toward our table. Kenji, how could you? I glanced at her, then calmly snapped my fingers. A waiter appeared instantly. Yes, sir, how may I help you? I gestured toward May. I believe this restaurant has a members-only policy. How'd you get in? May stopped dead in her tracks, stunned. A beefy, slick-haired man who had been lurking behind her scrambled forward, bowing obsequiously to Hao and me. My apologies, gentlemen. We're just passing through, just here for a quick bite. So sorry to disturb you. He grabbed May's arm. Let's go now. May ripped her arm away. Who do you think you are, ordering me around? Without hesitation, the man slapped her hard across the face. You still think you're some precious princess? Let's go before you make things worse for yourself. May, who had never been treated that way in her life, started screaming at him. The staff promptly escorted them both out. I watched her retreating back and laughed softly. You sold her off? Hao shrugged again, taking a sip of his wine. She's a woman with no sense. Her only remaining value was as a marriage asset. That man is one of our downstream suppliers. With him and the family, our production costs will drop by %. I nodded. It made a sick kind of sense. May's brains may have been scrambled, but she still had the face of an angel. Even though she was a woman I once, or rather, a version of me once, loved, seeing her so utterly broken didn't move me at all. She brought it all on herself. Hao and I looked at each other and smiled. Money in the bank, a beautiful home, and a life of my own making. I was satisfied. As for the toxic ex-wife, good riddance.